This is a reading from the Gospel of Mark, selected verses from the 13th chapter. As Jesus left the temple, one of his disciples said to him, "Teacher, look, what awesome stones and buildings." Jesus responded, "Do you see these enormous buildings? Not even one stone will be left upon another. All will be demolished." Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives across from the temple. Peter, James, John, and Andrew asked him privately, "Tell us, when will these things happen? What sign will show that all these things are about to come to an end?" Jesus said, "Watch out that no one deceives you. Many people will come in my name, saying, 'I am the one.' They will deceive many people. When we hear of wars and reports of wars, don't be alarmed. These things must happen, but this isn't the end yet. Nations and kingdoms will fight against each other, and there will be earthquakes and famines in all sorts of places. These things are just the beginning of the sufferings associated with the end. In those days, after the suffering of that time, the sun will become dark, and the moon won't give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the planets and other heavenly bodies will be shaken. Then they will see the human one coming in the clouds with great power and splendor. Then he will send the angels and gather together his chosen people from the four corners of the earth, from the end of the end of heaven. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will certainly not pass away. But nobody knows when that day or hour will come, not the angels in heaven and not the Son. Only the Father knows. Watch out, stay alert. You don't know when the time is coming. It is as if someone took a trip, left the household behind, and put the servants in charge, giving each one a job to do, and told the doorkeeper to stay alert. Therefore, stay alert. You don't know when the head of the household will come, whether in the evening or at midnight, or when the rooster crows in the early morning or at daybreak. Don't let him show up when you weren't expecting and find you sleeping. What I say to you, I say to all, stay alert."
Today is the first Sunday of Advent. Advent serves a dual role in the church. In this season, we're both looking back and also looking forward. We are remembering the birth of sweet little baby Jesus in a manger over 2,000 years ago, but we're also eagerly anticipating whenever King Jesus will return and finish the work that he began. There's a little bit less peace and tranquility in the latter than there is in the former. Advent always begins with an apocalypse, at least if you're going to follow the textual journey that's been laid out that many in the global church are participating in. Preachers and churches are welcome to chart their own Advent journeys, but nonetheless, if you're going to use the same text that most churches throughout the world are using, you're going to begin with apocalypse. Again, it's not so much about just sweet little baby Jesus born into a manger, but it's also whenever that baby returns full grown for the recreation of the entire world. And it's a bit disorienting. That picture is even a little bit frightening. It seems like everything is being turned upside down or maybe right side up. First, it's the temple. Jesus responded, "Do you see these enormous buildings? Not even one stone will be left upon another. All will be demolished." Jesus has them whenever he discusses their precious religious institutions, and then he moves on to nations and the land whenever he says nations and kingdoms will fight against each other, and there will be earthquakes and famines in all sorts of places. The sun, stop there for a second. And so, there's going to be fighting, nations against each other, earthquakes, and he's about to get into just how personal the fighting is going to be. It's going to be even among one's members of their own family. And then finally, it kind of all consummates with a lot of darkness, like literal darkness. Whenever he says the sun will become dark and the moon won't give its light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the planets and other heavenly bodies will be shaken. To quote Chicken Little, the sky is falling, and to quote Elvis, I'm all shook up. Seriously, with this vision, with this apocalypse that Jesus paints here, everything is different. But the reality is that whenever heaven came down to earth in the person of Jesus, the boundary between the two has been irreversibly distorted. Yes, whenever Jesus came down to earth, everything has changed. Nothing is the same as it was before. And that's not always a peaceful vision. There's a lot going on whenever heaven comes down to earth. It's a peaceful thought to think about. It's a peaceful thought to think about heaven coming down to earth because we couldn't rise up to heaven. But again, this picture that Jesus is painting in Mark 13 is not such a peaceful one. Everything is changing. All of the institutions being toppled, all of those things that we hold dear are being changed. Everything being distorted in favor of Jesus coming down to us. And so, whenever we think about this, whenever we think about everything being shaken up, changed, the sky falling, in order for us to not become frightened with that picture, it might be helpful for us to dream for a moment. What does God need to shake up in your life, in your own life personally, and also thinking on a broader scale? What does God need to shake up in our world? Again, it's a disorienting, scary picture to think of everything that we know and possibly even hold dear changing. It's good news for those who are on the margins. It's worse news for those who are in power now, whose institutions are being toppled. But in moments like this, it can help us to stay grounded by thinking about what we can actually do in the matter. So when the sky is falling, what can we do? Well, 4 times does Jesus say, watch out. 4 times in the passage that you just heard Sue read, does Jesus say to stay alert. So it can be well summed up in this verse. Watch out, stay alert. You don't know when the time is coming. In other translations, take heed, beware, other similar expressions to that. Nonetheless, they're all getting at the same idea of being alert to our surroundings, to becoming awakened to what's going on all around us. So what can we do? When the sky is falling, stay alert. But we've got to acknowledge that it can be challenging to stay alert, especially whenever you are tired. And it can be very taxing to be needing to stay alert all the time, to always be on your guard. It can tax us physically, it can tax us mentally, and it can tax us emotionally to stay in that state of constant readiness. So maybe we can focus on getting prepared rather than having to stay prepared. Baptist minister and seminary professor Timothy Atkins Jones puts it like this: we are to stay ready so that we don't have to get ready. There's more being in the former, there's more doing in the latter. Focus on being ready so you don't have to get yourself ready at a certain time. What if we took this season, and what if we made our urgency in this season about getting ready for Jesus with a changed life rather than getting ready for Jesus with all sorts of holiday preparations? That would prepare us for a different sort of Christmas and really a different sort of life in general. A greater ability to be ready whenever that time comes, because there's a second part of Jesus' call here whenever he says, watch out, stay alert. You don't know when the time is coming. In fact, did you even catch it? That Jesus says, look, even I don't know whenever I'm going to return again. Only the Father knows. So there's both expectation and also lack of expectation. We're expecting Jesus to return, but we don't know when to expect him. That's why it's so much more important to get ready than to have to stay ready. Because if you get yourself into that place with a changed heart and a changed life, then you can be ready for whenever he comes back, even he doesn't know. But still, institutions toppled, the sky falling, everything all shook up. It's disorienting, it's frightening. We just need to acknowledge that. Whenever we sing Andy Williams, it's the most wonderful time of the year. Some things in that song just make sense. There'll be parties for hosting. Check. Advent dinner tonight. Marshmallows for toasting. Check. Not sure about you, but I picked some up from the store earlier this week. Caroling out in the snow. Sure, as long as we actually get some snow. But there'll be scary ghost stories? That one I've never been so certain of, but maybe this is what Andy is getting at. Maybe it's this picture, this scary picture of Jesus' words from Mark 13. Still, the psalmist reassures us, God is our refuge and strength, a help always near in times of great trouble. That's why we won't be afraid when the worlds fall apart, when the mountains crumble into the center of the sea, when the waters roar and rage, when the mountains shake because of its surging waves. Come, see the Lord's deeds. What devastation he has imposed on the earth, bringing wars to an end in every corner of the world, breaking the bow and shattering the spear, burning chariots with fire. Amen and amen. Friends, the truth is that none of us fully live into this picture of getting alert, of staying alert constantly. So please join me in confessing our sin before God and also each other.